Hi, everybody. If you landed here today, you are one of the ones that likes to look at healing from a very specific modality in a natural way, and then tying in spirituality into the mix. Yeah, we're going to really have a wonderful, wonderful show today, and something that you have a lot to be able to take away with you. So pay attention, everybody. Don't go away, because guess what? It's the Kathleen Francis Show. We'll be right back. We live in a society where the way we look makes us feel better about ourselves. And the way we look often is how we feel. So there's something really wonderful that's happening in northern Arizona. It's the Velvet Veil Med Spa. And they have wonderful techniques that can help us look better because we make that way feel better. So they have technologies for your skin to get rid of the wrinkles, to get rid of fat, all kinds of really interesting things. And so I want to make sure that you know about the Velvet Veil Med Spa in Flagstaff, Arizona. It's the only technology in northern Arizona unless you go to Phoenix. And there's a lot of people up here that I think could take advantage of a wonderful opportunity for them and with them. And you can even have your wonderful treatments and pay later. So let's check it out. Get in touch with Karen at the Velvet Veil Med Spa and enjoy the benefits today. Well, we have a fellow Italian here today. His name is Mike Govoni. And Mike is going to be with us for this segment. And welcome to the Kathleen Francis Show, Mike.
Thank you, Kathleen. I'm happy to be here today.
Yes, and he has a wonderful facility right here in Sedona called the Sedona Detox and Wellness Center. So we know, certainly I've been watching the Maha film. Have you seen that?
Mm-hmm.
And we know that that whole movie, the Maha movie, is the thrust of that is the body wants to heal itself, and it can if we give it what it needs to be able to do that. So is that kind of the premise of what your facility is all about?
Yeah, Sedona Detox and Wellness is really about creating a safe environment for people to explore technologies and different methods to help increase their vitality, their health, their wellness, their healing. So it's a combination of various modalities, and I think the premise for me, even when people engage and show up there, that I always tell them that when you're in the hyperbaric chamber, when you're in the Hocket, when you're in the red light sauna, like you use your mind too. Engage in the shift of your consciousness for healing. Know that ultimately you are the healer and that the technologies can help. But ultimately, engage in that process to awaken that inner healer and to support that process.
Wow. So I love the fact that what we have today is an understanding and technology that's coming to us that supports the best possibilities if we know about them. So our audience is basically a universal one. We go all over the world. And how do you bring this wonderful synergy of what you put together, Mike, to people? Can they come to your facility from anywhere around the world?
Yeah, of course. Sedona, as we all know, is a destination place for healing, for spiritual awakening, for rejuvenation. So I welcome anyone that wants to come to Sedona. The land itself is very powerful, but also, creating the environment at Sedona Detox and Wellness coincides with the energy and the vibration. So everyone is welcome. If you feel aligned, and I do welcome anyone to come and visit Sedona and visit Sedona Detox and Wellness.
Well, I'm all about rejuvenation. Today is my birthday.
Happy birthday, Kathleen. That's wonderful.
So I'll be coming to you. So you figure you can get 20 years off of me because I plan to be here for a while. I think I have some mission yet to do.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, I think we're on the cutting edge of longevity research and supporting people to feel their best, in their later years. So, Yeah, one of the technologies we have is actually hyperbaric oxygen therapy. We know that supports mitochondrial function, reduces inflammation, supports the brain. So yeah, I think we can reduce 20, 25 years. And if we do that, I think you'd only be like 25.
There you go. I love this man already. So I'm a little shouting out to my family in Hurley, Wisconsin, my friends and family back home, because we do share an Italian heritage here in my family back home. You know, we're all about the food, but not necessarily focusing on the food that will heal our bodies. So when we look at, but you know, look, our family feeds people, and everybody wants the recipes, and my brother's book will soon to come out if I finish it. So how do you, what, give me an idea. If someone comes to you, how do you approach who they are and what their issues might be?
Yeah, it's a good question. You know,
I thought it was a good question.
yeah, and healing is complex in a sense. But you know, my mentor used to say, paths are many, truth is one, therapies are many, healing is one. It's all to the same place. So, truth be told, you know, I'm actually more interested in people's stories than I am of just first throwing them in a hyperbaric chamber. Because,
Oh.
yes, because I believe that our biography, our story of what we've lived through, and how it ends up in our tissues, there's a causation, you know, or correlation. And so I first like to know about people's stories. So when they come in and they're sick, or they're not feeling well, or they even want to, you know, optimize and live their best, I'm always interested in who they are and what they went through. And possibly if the body has broken down, the tissue's broken down, I'm curious about, yeah, what their story is. And I think that's, you know, it's a very different approach, especially with the current medical paradigm where doctors have, you know, 5 to 15 minutes with you tops.
We know that.
Yeah, they can't really see you and understand, you know, what you've lived through. So
This is, I want people to really pay attention to this, because what Mike is doing is bringing something, an aspect of who we are, because it's a holistic approach. And this is something I want everybody to really understand what he's saying when he wants that story. Because I don't think there are very many of us that have escaped this earthly plane without some high drama and trauma as we came into it. I know I have had mine, and some of you know what that is. But Mike, can you really address how you tie those things in? And then I want to know your story.
yeah, so tying them in, I think, is really, I think the first most important thing is having gone through so much myself, it gives me the insight to possibly what might be going on at, I like to say, a multi-dimensional level with the person. And then, you know.
So basically, are you saying that our traumas that we've collected from early childhood, and maybe even in the womb, that determines a lot of the maladies that we end up with as adults?
Yeah, I think there's a correlation between that. In fact, I think it goes deeper than that too. If we look at the cartography of the psyche from Stanislav Grof, Stan was a psychiatrist from the Czech Republic who created holotropic breath work. He also created the basic perinatal matrices. So he worked in non-ordinary states of healing, psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, breath work, etc. And so I think it might even go deeper than just this lifetime. And for example, the cartography of the psyche of Stan was potential, we're dealing with past life material, we're dealing with postnatal biography, so birth trauma, we're dealing with perinatal matrices, so birth trauma, then we're dealing with postnatal biography, which is the story of, you know, we're born up to this date, and then transpersonal aspects, right, going beyond the skin suit, right, so healing in non-ordinary states, we could have an experience of oneness. We could have experience of being the jaguar or the mountain, you know.
Yes.
And so those experiences can lead to profound healing too. as Carl Jung said, to the degree which you can experience the numinous, your own divinity, is the degree to which you are released from the curse of pathology. So,
Oh, I love that. Listen,
yes.
everybody, play that again.
So having those experiences can be profoundly healing. And then the last part of the category of the psyche with Stan was archetypal. So archetypal images or figures beyond, society, figures of different archetypal beings, etc. So that's a wide range to look at things versus when you just go to, let's say, the therapist and you're dealing with your postnatal biography. They're only looking at that story from who you are from birth to present. But I think we come in with so much more. And yeah, we have to, I think, maybe get curious and address these things on a multiple, dimensional level for healing.
So how did you come to this modality of healing?
Through lived experience. So the chapters of my story are childhood trauma, addiction, chronic illness, toxicity, and spiritual awakening and healing. So I was blessed with inescapable suffering at 25 years old. And I was very sick with irritable bowel disease. I had 7 amalgam fillings removed improperly, so I had metal toxicity.
Oh.
I had mercury toxicity. And I had a cascade of inflammation in my body, which I had, 30 or 40 symptoms at one time. And, I could also add to that story is religiosity, religious trauma. And I think everyone can identify with one thing on that list: childhood trauma,
yes.
addiction,
yes.
chronic illness, right? Toxicity, spiritual awakening, healing, and even religiosity. So it's a lot of ground I've had to cover and peel the layers and, come out to the other side.
Well, basically, I have interviewed a lot of healers. What is consistent in most every case is that the healer themselves has gone through a lot of trauma and exploration, near death, life-threatening conditions that they then healed themselves from, and that was how they were able to bring the best kind of support to anybody that was coming to them with regard to a desire to heal.
Yeah, beautiful. Carl Jung also says you either have to have gone through or going through the experience in order to initiate the healing to the patient. Only the wounded heal.
Oh, I love that.
So it's profound, that we, and even I have physicians and doctors as clients, and often I'm helping them unlearn what they've learned in medical school to understand that healing is not prescribing. And so having gone and charted the waters myself, or like, let's say Joseph Campbell, the hero's journey, right?
Yes.
We all get the call, we all have to go slay the dragon, and then we come back with a new elixir. Well, when I was, sick and 25 years old to 29, instead of taking my own life because it was that painful, I decided that I had to go in and I had to calm my autonomic nervous system.
Been there, done that.
I was at threshold, and lo and behold, I totally retreated for about 2 years. I left my corporate job. I mean, I was being, deconstructed and broken down and rebuilt. I didn't know it at the time. It was very painful, and to lose your ego identity is very painful. And so I went in, and I went in, and I went in, and I had a profound mystical awakening at 29 years old that led to a shift in consciousness. And that's the elixir that I bring back is a shift in consciousness, and helping people, and with the help of my old mentor, Dr. Paul Epstein, who's a naturopathic doctor, to support the client, or in his case, the patient, to engage in the shift of their consciousness for healing.
Wow. Well, I knew I was going to have a wonderful guest, but I'm delighted because I did not know him personally before this podcast, and the exploration of what he's about is something that, again, I promised you this would be a great one, and you'd better be paying close attention and play this often. That's what I do with podcasts and things that I find fascinating. And what you're bringing to this is, we are all about that evolution. We're at a precipice right now. And I'm hearing from a lot of very, very valid people who have been on the other side we're at a breaking point, and we have about a year right now, from what I'm being told, where we've got to make some big leaps spiritually and in the way that we function as human beings. And it looks like that's what your mission seems to be. Am I right? Or did I say it wrong?
No, I think I'm part of that mission.
Yes,
For
the 1%.
Yeah, for sure. You know, I think when one, let's say, comes to consciousness, they have a duty. They have a responsibility to help others and usher them to, I like to say, to suffer less or to awaken in a way, because that's what our culture, our society, our world needs, is a shift in consciousness. We need to experience more of our own true nature individually, instead of seeking outside things, instead of always looking for the solution outside of ourselves. We have to, you know, in a world where, you know, technology is taking over and AI, it's still beneficial and helps us in certain ways, but also it's a big distraction. And I think, you know, to get the gift or the grist for the mill, so to speak, whatever it takes for you to slow down, for you to go in, for you to connect with your higher self, so that you can, you know, be gifted, I would say, with some of that fruit, you know, and hold that transformation, so you can help others on their path and help the world as a whole. Because what else are we supposed to do here?
And I think it's important for us to have like-minded people around us. I know that that's a critical part, because if we feel isolated, like many of us do, I know you went through 2 years and probably felt isolated. I know I love my family dearly, but you know, they think I'm weird. And you know, one of the things that I do want to bring forward is the fact that our studio is here at Humankind, and the objective with Humankind is to bring like-minded people together to help elevate their own ascension process. So we're going to hold for a moment. We'll be right back right after this. We're in the Humankind Center studio as we record our shows, and we want to do a little shout out for everybody, so that you know the Humankind Center is something that we are inviting everybody to be part of. And there are lots of community events here locally in Sedona, Arizona. But even if you are a member wherever you are, you get to experience whatever the events are at the Humankind Center. So we have a wonderful ability to connect through an app that John Strayers created. And tell us about the app.
So you can actually download the app on Google, and soon you'll be able to download it on iTunes, and coming soon to Fire TV. So what makes Humankind different? Everything. One, it's created by someone who actually has the care for men, women, and children around the globe at the foundation of this. And truth and freedom, and with knowledge that may be new to you, with great music and understandings, and hearing real people talk about things that are amazing and beautiful and real and connecting. That's really what Humankind is, because the quicker people awaken, the freer the world is. It's really a chance to be part of a start of not just a network, but a movement of community to the positive, peaceful, light-filled, healing side.
Yeah, this was supposed to be a 30-second spot. All right, get your butt in gear and become one of us at the Humankind Center. Okay. Okay, everybody, we're back with Mike Govoni, and we want to continue this wonderful interview with you. So, how can we present this to our audience in a way that, especially if they don't actually live here, do you have online things that people can learn? I mean, I know if they come to Sedona, which of course we invite them to do, and experience you directly, that would be a magical thing. And there's lots of ways that we could connect what you're presenting to people. And I know you work with a lot of higher end people, like you said, and God knows it's sad what the medical system, the primary thing that people learn in the medical education is how to prescribe drugs, and that's just very sad to me. There's nothing that is natural that they bring into the picture because we know the agenda there. And I think that so many practitioners who are in the medical system suffer what they have to deal with once they understand what's really going on. Many of them move into a different modality. That's where a lot of, I know, naturopathic doctors have both credentials. And so, but back to the individual, what would you say is the path for the people that could come and derive all of this wonderful wisdom and modalities that you have to offer?
Yeah, I think, working together with people at Sedona Detox and Wellness or individually is something that I've been doing for, over a decade, but I think, beginning to connect even with nature. Like if, yes, there's Sedona, there's this beautiful place, there's Humankind, there's Sedona Detox and Wellness, but don't forget about, the sun in your backyard. Don't forget about the earth. Don't forget about, smelling the spring blooms. Like we have to begin to slow down and recognize that healing happens in the present moment. And when we can even just touch in our environment and begin to slow down, I think, we're already on the path of coming back home to ourselves. So although I would love to see all you in Sedona and visiting Sedona Detox and Wellness and Humankind, we have to start where we are.
That's very good. I know years ago there was a doctor, I don't remember his name, and he treated people by having them outside with almost no clothes on, and he did 20-minute sessions like 2 or 3 times a day to have the sun heal you.
Yeah, that's pretty
I don't remember his
fascinating.
name, unfortunately, but
Yeah, so the sun, okay, we have this thing in our eyeball called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and its abbreviation is the SCN, and it's connected directly to the hypothalamus, and it is controlled by the light-dark cycle. So it controls the circadian rhythm, and that master clock in the body dictates all the other clocks, and it supports every biological system in the body.
wow.
So in a world where we have a lot of propaganda around the sun, there's a reason why the Egyptians worshipped the sun. There's a reason why the Sphinx faces the east with all fours on the ground, because he's grounding and he's catching the early morning sun,
Wow.
which is full of red and healthy blue light to activate that SCN and to let our body know that it's time to wake up. And then when we're, so I agree wholeheartedly with the sun. If I may say so abruptly, that the fact that the sun is bad for us is propaganda.
Yes.
And so, there are certain people maybe with certain conditions that need to be very cautious. But overall, we need the sun. The sun gives us nutrients, it gives us light, it's controlling that SCN. It's so important. Yeah, so I'm happy
And the
you
other
mentioned
element there, you talked about the earth, grounding. I
Grounding.
just sent my brother a grounding mat, and I hope he's listening.
that. Yes.
So-
And vitamin D, so these are simple things that, are so overlooked, I think personally, because our psyches are indoctrinated. What I mean by that is, you can't escape the pharmaceutical indoctrination.
No.
It's through and through our society, culture,
2-3
world.
minute commercials.
Yeah, and
just-
even more than that, we start, most of us, in a hospital being birthed under these fluorescent lights with all this anesthesia, and the
And then
women in our
the
culture,
vaccinations they give to babies without their permission.
Yeah, so it's a heavy load, but I often say when people come to my facility that one of the first steps is I have to help them undoctrinate themselves. I have to help them, understand that light in your eyeballs is so important. sharing about the SCN with them, letting them know that, yeah, the hyperbaric's good, the whole cat's good, the red light's good, the quantum energy wellness bed's good, but ultimately, you know, the engagement or the ability to touch within yourself and tell yourself positive thoughts, and to, when you're in these technologies or you're outside grounding, to say, you know, I take in this nutrients from the sun, it's healing me at every level, to engage in that relationality with your body, with your mind, you know. And it's so very important and overlooked in our society that, you know, you think you feel, you feel you think. You have a bilateral connection through the 10th cranial nerve, the vagus nerve, that's connected our brain and our bodies. And we have to begin to engage in that relationality with this body, with a healthy mind, with a compassionate presence. You know, so when people are really suffering and I say, well, maybe we could meet that with compassion for a moment. I know I got sick for a reason. You know, I was separated from my mother at 3 years old, and so illness was an opportunity for me to come home to myself. Or as Dr. Paul used to say, all healing is self-healing. Right? All sickness is homesickness, a journey back home to your true self. So for me, the illness was often, the illness is often, and for me, it was a journey back home to nurturing myself.
Yes.
So to engage in that process, to undoctrinate, it's a lot, because even, you know, you're getting so much information from so many different sources on what to do, what not to do, but we have to touch in and get still and get quiet and ground so we can hear the whispers, we can get the information. Actually, in fact, that's how Sedona Detox and Wellness started. You want me to share a little bit about that?
Please do.
So when I had irritable bowel disease and they wanted to remove my colon, and the drug was giving me autoimmune hepatitis, I had nowhere to go but to leave that establishment and try to heal myself. And I did, and I was very successful. I did a fecal microbial transplant, that's a poop transplant. I did emotional healing, trauma healing, I mean, a lot of stuff. So fast forward even 15 months ago, right? My wife and I had trouble getting pregnant, and so we decided to do IVF outside the country. So we went to Istanbul, Turkey, because in Europe they don't look at 40-year-old, 41-year-old women as geriatric pregnancy like they do here. They're more open and lenient. They'll implant more than one embryo. And so we went to a clinic there, and while we were there, I actually got a male checkup by a hospital in Turkey. And long story short, I got a colonoscopy, which I haven't gotten in years, endoscopy, all that, and my colon didn't like it. And I had to go back to eat the microorganisms from Turkey, and once again, I had a flare. I had a flare-up of ulcerative colitis.
I understand.
But once again, from already being connected to myself, I listened, and something told me to go in a hyperbaric chamber. I'd never been in a hyperbaric chamber in my life. I didn't know anything about hyperbaric, but I listened to the whisper.
Yes.
I went up to Flag. I did 40 treatments, but on the 5th treatment, because I had so much inflammation in my gut, the brain is connected to the gut once again through the 10th cranial nerve, and I had a lot of brain inflammation. But when I went into the chamber, my brain turned on. I got this immense hope, this clarity, and I knew right then and there that this thing was gonna help me and that I was gonna own one of these. So I went back, I finished the 40 treatments, and then I said, okay, how do I get a chamber? So I bought a chamber, and then I decided, oh, I got this beautiful chamber, how can I help others with it? And then I started putting things together, and one thing led to the next, and that's how I started Sedona Detox and Wellness.
That's a great story. I actually was involved with hyperbaric chamber therapy so many years ago. And you know, the connectedness to all of these things, as I reflect on my own life, is a fascination for myself. And what I know to be true, because I wanted to use a hyperbaric chamber, but our insurance plans will not let you do it. You have to go through so much red tape.
So much.
To get it authorized for a hyperbaric chamber. When, you know, it's like if somebody has a stroke, you know the importance of getting them into a hyperbaric chamber. ASAP.
ASAP.
Now, are people aware in this community, at least, that if that should happen to them, you know, to have a stroke, that they, you know, I mean, I think everybody in the community here should be have you on speed dial in the event of something traumatic like that, because it makes an enormous difference. The sooner they can get to hyperbaric chamber, the better it will stop the paralysis.
Well, I got an interesting story about that.
Yeah.
So if there was a question in there for me, does everyone know in this town about it? I would say no. And
We're going to make that different.
yeah, I'll share why. I'm walking, I'm driving down my neighborhood, and my neighbor, I won't say his name, we'll call him Frank. And so Frank had a walker, and I hadn't seen him in a while. I pull up next to Frank, and I said, Frank, did you have a stroke? And he said, yeah. I said, well, what are you doing for the stroke? He said, oh, I'm doing physical therapy. I said, do you know about hyperbaric oxygen? He goes, no. I go, listen, don't take it as my word. Go listen to Dr. Paul Harch, who's been doing this for 40 years. Here's give me your number. So I sent him all this stuff, not a peep. I finally got the business open, and I came out with my business card. And once again, I don't care if he came to me or not. I just want him to know that he can get help and potentially reverse some of these things.
I know.
And so I came back out and I said, Frank, we're open now. What'd you find? Did you research? He said, well, my neurologist said it wasn't a good idea. And I looked him straight in the eye and I said, your neurologist is full of shit. And I just said, I said, it's not about me getting business from you. It's about educating you on how you can possibly get some of that atrophied tissue healed around the stroke, what Dr. Paul Harch calls idling neurons. And so Sedona, I'll be a little jokey here, is that, Sedona is known as, the metaphysical healing capital of the world, but it's a lot of woo-woo. I think when I pulled up next to him as a young guy, I know I had my hat on backwards at the time, and I was telling him when I first introduced this, I think he thinks I'm a young kid that doesn't know what I'm talking about. And I'm like, it hurts me because he's getting fed this information from his neurologist that has no idea about hyperbaric, obviously. And so he cannot get to the next level because, once again, he's indoctrinated.
Correct.
And he's listening to the expert that really doesn't know what she's talking about.
I understand so well. I do have so many of my own relatives are nurses and doctors, and you can't blame them. They think, they're indoctrinated, and it's very hard for anybody that is so indoctrinated to be able to drop for a moment a possibility that something better could actually be available to their patients and open up the doorway for some options that may not be something that they're familiar with. But the hardest thing that someone said, it's their own pride. And I understand that, because for them to drop their whole essence of who they identify as, to allow something in that is foreign to their consciousness is one of the biggest challenges we have. I mean, myself, since I left home at 17, I would run home, back home to Wisconsin every year with, there's this and there's this. And they go, oh, there comes Kathy again. And it's because we want to bring this important information to those we care about. And ultimately, a stranger is still a family. We're learning this on some very interesting levels from a lot of people that have the near-death experiences like I did. I've had those experiences where I have been out there and I realize who we think we are is not it at all.
Yeah, totally.
So you're doing sacred work as far as I'm concerned.
Well, thank you.
So did that man ever come to his senses?
I don't think so, no. It's a shame. But going back to what you were saying about the doctors, I'm a man of many quotes. And I love quoting.
And they're good quotes.
Yeah, and even Carl Jung says that the doctor is only as effective to the degree which he has examined himself. And so, when the doc goes through an establishment of academia and learning from, a paradigm of Rockefeller medicine, they're taught what they're taught, and there's really no room for much else. Now, once again, not all physicians. Obviously, there's some beautiful and amazing. And I think the ultimate combination is that academia brain with consciousness is a profound, weapon in a sense of helping people heal. So there are amazing doctors and physicians too. But for one like that to shut him down like that is it breaks the oath, do no harm, because little does she know that she's actually causing harm in a way that this guy is not getting well, because maybe she hasn't taken 10 minutes to even do a ChatGPT search.
Yes.
Who knows if she looked at, Grok or one of these ones and said, hey, is hyperbaric beneficial post-stroke? Do you know what she'd come up with? Real scientific literature.
Yes, I understand. And unfortunately, not only is the system as we've discussed it, but all too often medical people who are educated and who have licenses, if they step outside of the line of what they're allowed to do, their own licenses are in jeopardy. So we completely understand the challenges that people who have been educated in the medical system, and I'm not saying that all medicine is of no value, but a combination of an understanding is what's missing, in my opinion, having been in the industry in peripheral ways my whole life. I've worked with, for over 40 years, Dr. Gary Null, who has had his radio show and over 100 documentary films presenting so much about what the situation actually is, and that brings a lot to the forefront. And so we're all trying our best with great resistance, as we well know. And and we're trying to figure out why so many scientists are disappearing, coming up dead, or just disappearing altogether. What's the deal on that? So it's a and whistleblowers, look at what they've gone through. So many of them meeting with untimely deaths, accidents, and so on. So, it's kind of risky for us to open our big mouths.
But necessary.
But necessary. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So, first of all, we want to make sure people know how to reach you, if you would be so kind.
So, I have two platforms. One is Mike Govoni. .com, and the other one is Sedona Detox and Wellness. So I'm blending both of my worlds kind of at the moment with my integrative wellness practitioner support. Some people might call it coaching. I don't call it coaching in the aspect as I know it's a bit more in depth of supporting humans. It's helping support the healing process. And so then Sedona Detox and Wellness is the new platform where it's the actual brick and mortar physical location here in West Sedona, and you could find me and the info at sedonadetoxandwellness.com.
And Govoni is Govoni. Nice Italian boy.
Okay.
So basically anybody could actually have coaching from you regardless of where they live. But do you have programs where people can come to Sedona for a certain period of time to kind of get a burst of what you have available in terms of the technology? It sounds to me like a good way for someone who's outside of Sedona, if they worked with you on the phone for an X number of weeks or months, whatever it is, and then came to Sedona to experience your technologies that they could participate in. That sounds like maybe, do you have a program like that?
That's exactly how it works. Or one of the branches, I should say. So I do have the availability to work solely online, but as I bring in Sedona Detox and Wellness, I'm doing exactly that. I'm hosting private immersions with humans to come in on the land of Sedona and yes, build a rapport, maybe a month and a half prior to them coming out, establish a relationship, get some traction, and then have them come out to the land, have them come to the facility, and do some deeper in-person work. So yeah, private immersions is something I do, and then we're launching Sedona Detox and Wellness retreats. So
I was going to ask you if you were doing that.
Yeah, so So far, they've been men's retreats, but I will be bringing in co-ed retreats for women and men to participate together. And so yeah, renting a beautiful home and having private chefs and doing deeper work, whether it's breath work to support them in non-ordinary states of consciousness and trauma healing and spending time on the land and working in a group, dyads and triads, and then having them come through Sedona Detox and Wellness to work on the health and wellness and health optimization part of it.
Yes.
So this is something that's being created right now and happening. So yes, it's all being brought to the world. Yeah.
Gary Null has his retreats. He always brings me in as part of his staff for a week, 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, and I have been there when people had life-threatening, and one woman that had MS for 15 years couldn't even, we had to lift her legs she was in a walker, she hadn't bent her knees in years, and I witnessed in 3 weeks, she was not only bending her knees, she walked without a walker, and we had that on video. So these things are possible, and maybe you might even consider spearheading something right here at Humankind, because then all the members of Humankind would be able to access that beautiful information and the modalities that you present for healing, because the more people that we can expose to what you're suggesting, Mike, I think that can be a tipping, so to speak. So I would love to have you on my show again if that would be something that you would consider.
Yeah, I would love that invitation. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would love to actually experience your technology and all of that. And, I mean, I think it's something that I think, and, I don't think you have to wait to be sick or have an illness. I think there should be a focus on
prevention.
So
Yes.
you want to, in our closing comments, want to bring that to the consciousness a little bit.
Yeah, I think where that first starts as prevention is people have to first understand the importance of investing in themselves. And it doesn't need to be thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars like I have spent, healing myself. It can start with first offering yourself the time in your backyard under the sun, eating, good quality food, drinking good structured water, just the basics, and not thinking you have to spend a gazillion dollars. But also, when it comes to the offering yourself maybe the opportunity to do a treatment or something, is I want to help people start to shift their thinking around. Like, think about what you spend your money on, right? Like, maybe you bought yourself an expensive car or expensive purse, or you drink a $8 Starbucks every day, and then that adds up. But what I'm trying to get at is, we have to not be afraid to put our priorities first and understand that prevention of illness is a lot cheaper than getting sick and trying to unravel it from there, believe me. So if you can do these small little steps that help your body first and foremost de-stress. I think, if 90% of doctors' visits are stress-related conditions, then stress is a huge factor. So ways to help yourself de-stress, and also to not be afraid of investing in yourself.
Repurpose your money, people.
Yes, exactly, and taking good care of yourself. You know how many people, like I had this guy come in the other day, and he clearly has plenty of funds. He's but then he kept on asking me, how much is this at the suite? How much is that? And I said to him, I put my hand on his shoulder. I said, you have to understand that you're worth this.
I have friends the same.
Yeah.
They'll spend money on something that they don't need, and yet they won't put that money for themselves. I think so it doesn't matter how much money you have. I have a number of wealthy people, and it's so odd. I find it a fascination why they don't put their body first.
Yeah. As Joe Polish would say, you're the $1 million racehorse. And it's, once again, it's not all about money here, but even time. Give yourself the space to go out in the backyard, to go for a walk in nature, to put your feet on the earth, to go for a swim at the beach, or take a walk, in the woods. These are things, especially connecting with nature. The reason why we're mostly sick is we're disconnected with nature, and we don't
Yes.
realize that we're still mammals and that we're still animals, and we think that we can go against nature and sit in front of blue light screens all day and sit under these LEDs and not get affected. So
Yes.
yeah, so just even the time and the space you can offer yourself to do these little things can be a big game changer.
And honestly, I mean, doctors and nurses make a lot of money, and yet with the alternative people, they fuss over, paying. I mean, your facility costs money. All of those modalities that you offer are expensive. I know that to be true. So, I'm really wanting to point that out and urging everybody, please pay attention to this particular segment. I know for sure that his approach, looking at the whole person and the trauma that has maybe caused different conditions in your body. And it's just like, I went to get my blood work done, and, so often nothing shows up in the blood work. Your blood work's fine, according to them. But if there's still something that feels off, how do they discover where that is? Because the medical community is not designed to do that. So these are things, we're going into it from a deeper cut. And this is what Mike Govoni has presented to us today. So I really hope you will come back and do another segment, and we'll look at another way to kind of get another cut on this. So I'm going to really thank you so much for being on the Kathleen Francis Show. And we appreciate you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Kathleen, and thank you for the audience for watching this today. And it was a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. All right, everybody. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.